Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Season 2 of Monorail Monday. We had 6 episodes, Season 1 in the fall. Now it's time for Season 2, a few more behind-the-scenes stories, some jokes, some look at the archives, the way things worked, and anything that I think might be of interest to you. If there are questions or things that you think you would like me to cover for a future episode, or questions you'd like to answer, always feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll either tackle it at the end of an episode, or we may do an episode trying to cover how certain things worked or the way things were done. Without further ado, let's get to Season 2, Episode 1, the newest episode. What are we talking about today? Voice Overlord. What's the title of the episode?
Today's episode, it's break time.
Yes, it's break time. So we're going to talk a little bit about taking breaks on the monorail system and show you where some of these locations were, talk about kind of like different preferences or tendencies people had, as well as why you received a different amount of break time depending on your location. So no matter where you were working in monorails, everything began and ended at the transportation center. It didn't matter if you were working at the Polynesian, Grand Floridian, Epcot, Magic Kingdom, the Contemporary. It all started and ended at the Transportation and Ticket Center. That's where your day begins. So I would park in the transportation lot, and we had a section of the lot that was for cast members, and that's going to be right in there was where the cast members would park. You'd park and then walk in from there to the Transportation Center. And the break room was right in here for all of the transportation, buses, monorails, watercraft. That was our break room. That was our clock-in point. That's where our lockers were for changing into our costumes, because back then we did not have the costumes with us like you can carry home now. They let you carry them home. If I walked off property in costume and went to the grocery store back when I was there in the 90s, that would have been an immediate termination kind of offense. They don't do that now. So inside the Transportation Ticket Center break area, there was a small cafeteria, and then there were tons of break areas, some refrigerator, and as well as offices, a lot of Transportation Center offices. Up until the close to the mid-90s, up until then, the Disney staffed the cast cafeteria in pretty much all the hotels and all over the resort area. They had chefs or cooks in training. They would staff the cast cafeteria. You wanted to go have a burger, they'd make a burger to order. They'd make a hot sandwich to order. They cooked breakfast in the mornings. And usually the prices weren't too bad. It was pretty decent. Now, I can't remember exactly when, 93, 94-ish, something like that. Aramark was brought in, and pretty much there were no more cast cafeterias staffed by cast. They were basically Aramark contracted employees were brought in. Aramark brought its own menu and their own way of doing things, their own prices. Suddenly there were a lot less cast members getting their lunches or dinners at the cast cafeterias. It was a lot more expensive, and some of the old favorites weren't there. I tended to bring my lunch a lot more often after Aramark took over. So if you're working at the Transportation Center, or if you were at the Transportation Center on the Epcot loop, either way, you're working the Transportation Center, you pretty much went to the Transportation Center area, ate your lunch, took your breaks, everything was right over there. It's close, couple-minute walk. Typically, with an 8-hour shift, you would get a 30-minute lunch. 15-minute break, you get a 30-minute lunch. Now, in some locations, you received a 45-minute lunch, an extra 15 minutes, and that depended on your location. The further you were away from a potential break room or cafeteria, the more time you had to take your break. So, let's go over to the Polynesian. The cafeteria in the Polynesian was it was okay. It was not great. It was not favored by most cast members in my time. It was kind of like, if you have to, most people would either bring their food and eat there, or they would just walk back to the transportation center and go eat there. Most people did not prefer to eat at the Polynesian. However, if you did decide to eat at the Polynesian Cafeteria, it was just downstairs and around the corner. It was like a minute and a half to walk there. So it was super close. You could maximize your lunch time, which was awesome. I'd say maybe on a scale of 10, maybe a 4. Maybe a 4 out of 10. So the next one on the loop was the Grand Floridian. The Grand Floridian was a little bit better. It was very close, again, very close to the monorail system. You could just, it was just inside the hallway here. A little jog to the left. This is, again, a minute and a half walk from the monorail platform. Very easy to get to. There was a microwave, and there was also sort of like a separate upstairs seating. It was sort of like in a little separate cove that was kind of nice. Kind of nice little privacy. The cafeteria itself was very nice, but something with the hotel, a lot of people think hotel's it's a little snooty sometimes. A lot of people feel like the Grand Floridian's a little uppity. It kind of felt like that with the cafeteria. You felt like, everybody's a little uppity. They were much more strict on their rules there. You could go one of the other cafeterias, you could refill your soda, no big deal. You could take a drink, fill it up, take a couple of sips, top it off. But the Grand Floridian, they were hawks on things like that. No way were they going to let you get a couple of extra sips. They were pretty much, no, you can't do that. You fill it up once and pay for it. No extra sips or anything like that. Even if I brought my lunch, I liked eating in the break area. The break area was pretty nice. I would probably give the Grand Floridian maybe a 6. Maybe a 6 out of 10. It was a smidge more expensive. It felt like it was more expensive than some of the other cafeterias on a couple of items. Moving along the monorail loop to the Magic Kingdom, you could go just about anywhere. Most people tended to go back to the transportation center, or some would take a break in an area break room close by, or even further along to the Main Street break room. There was no cafeteria right there at the Magic Kingdom entrance. So you basically would go to the transportation center and eat at that cafeteria, or you'd have to walk the entire length of the Magic Kingdom to the back of the utilidors to where the Fantasyland, and to the back of Fantasyland is where the cafeteria is back there. That's pretty good hike. I don't know of many people who made that journey. If you brought your lunch, it's possible you might just have something that you didn't feel like going all the way back to transportation center. So you come down the exit ramp here, and this little building here, this is a ticketing break room, and just sort of an area break room. So there were maybe 1 or 2 tables right outside. It was also a ticketing office area. So they were always occupying. You may be in there with managers and other people talking about stuff. So it wasn't a great option. Not nearly as popular among monorail cast members, and not as well known to everybody. Coming right through here onto Main Street and going down underneath to the utilidors. And there was a break room right under here, right under Main Street, a big Main Street area break room. The Contemporary, some people, again, it was not that far away. It was relatively close, maybe a minute and a half or so away. You just go downstairs, and it was right next to the quick service, the fast food court for guests. Near there was the cafeteria. That was a pretty decent one. That was probably about a 6, I'd say, maybe 6 out of 10. A little bit better than average. It was, a lot of people though would just take the monorail to the transportation center. They just zip right down the monorail line down the transportation center. It's a couple of minutes if you timed it right. Just a note about working at the Contemporary, at all these places we're staffing turnstiles, and because the turnstile entrance was at the bottom of the escalator that went up to the platform, there was always somebody down there staffing turnstiles by themselves. It's kind of a lonely position to be bumped to. You go down there. Some people liked it because you got away from the platform and you just kind of hovered there for a while. Other people hated it because you were having to interact and you're answering questions constantly. At the time, there was a ticket booth and a guest services window directly adjacent to the escalator to the monorail platform. So you get a lot of questions. If they close that window for even 5 minutes, you get bombarded with guest services questions. Epcot was its own beast. Over at Epcot, you had the monorail station. If you exited the monorail station and went through the Epcot entrance, on the right-hand side, just before you got to Spaceship Earth, there was a little door over here to a break area. And they had plenty of seats and chairs, tables. They also had microwaves. So it was a good place if you brought your lunch. If you did not bring your lunch, you could either take the monorail back to the transportation center, which is why one of the reasons you got extra time here, but that took a long time. That was quite a lengthy journey. You'd use up half of your break time trying to get to the cafeteria. The other alternative would be to go through the entrance here, go behind the Universe of Energy, and follow this road on up to behind World of Motion, was approximately where the cast cafeteria was for Epcot. The Epcot cafeteria also seemed a little bit pricier than some of the other ones. It was also very busy, very busy. It was always packed, and the walk time was probably at least 10 minutes, 10 or 12 minutes each direction. So again, you'd be using half your break time to get to it. Quality wise, it was okay. 5, let's call it a 5. It was just very time consuming to get there. So most of the time I would use the break room near the entrance to Epcot. Now there was an alternative that was sort of off the books, so to speak. If you face the Epcot monorail station console, on the right side of it as you face it, there's a little door. Just a little door. It's not something you can walk through standing straight up. It's a little cubby hole almost. And if you duck in there, there is a small cramped maintenance area. It's almost like an unfinished basement. There was a light bulb and a bare light bulb, some maintenance tools. If a maintenance guy got sent over, that would be where they would hang out most of the time until they were needed to fix something or take a look at the monorail or something like that. One of my favorite memories of eating in the cubby hole, the maintenance hole, was when one of the maintenance guys, very enterprising, had brought a bunch of stuff to make burritos. He had a little hot pad and he had brought some ingredients. He was making burritos underneath the Epcot Center monorail console. So one by one, we'd sort of dip around the console, sneak underneath there, and we would have a burrito made for us, and then we would eat our burrito while the others were loading the trains and talking to guests. Then somebody would cycle back out, and here comes the next guy in to get his maintenance prepared burrito. In a way, it was like the Wild West sometimes. These days things are a lot more controlled, and you can't get away with quite as much as you could back in my day, or even before my day. There was all sorts of stuff that was going on that Disney did not necessarily have their fingers on the pulse of, or had things wrapped around. So it was pretty interesting to get your own burrito back there. So that's a look at the break rooms. That's where we had our chance to eat. That's where we would go. Everybody had their different favorites. So that's it for episode 1, season 2 of Monorail Monday. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave comments below. Let us know what you think. Let us know what else you'd like to hear about. Next week, I'm hoping we're going to dip into the archives a little bit. There's going to be 5 more episodes in season 2 of Monorail Monday. We're also going to have our videos on Thursdays as well, from various adventures and travels and interesting things we come across. So check those out as well. Those come out on Thursday at noon. Monorail Mondays should come out Mondays at noon. So once again, thanks for joining us. Appreciate everyone who's subscribed, who's watching, put in your time to view some of this stuff. Love sharing the information, and hope you enjoy some of this information that we're sharing, some of my past experiences. I have to record all this stuff and post it before I forget. I'm old. So appreciate everybody watching. Thank you. Remember, kids, have a good time all the time.